share something just because I think that we, I hate, white space. I want to talk.
Yes.
It's so good. I see so many familiar faces and old friends that I cherish. And so I'm really grateful for that. I see my little friend Linda Ramsey over there, and it makes my heart full. And hearing from Christy and seeing Eric down there and Michelle's phone. We don't see Michelle's face, but all of Sherry Pfister, my gosh, I'm just like, can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Did you hear me before?
You cut out for just a second.
Okay, so anyway, I was just expressing how happy I am to see all of you that I love and cherish, and to connect with new people. Is that Peter Dennison? Hey, Mark. I love it. Anyway, I'm sitting here and I'm sending my social media post out, and this. I don't know about you all, but this weekend was a really weird, interesting, unsettling weekend for me on so many fronts. I didn't really even invite anybody to hang out this weekend. I didn't want to be with people. I felt when the murder happened, I felt so angry. I can't even begin to express the anger that I felt, and the injustice that it is. In a very real way, I was talking to my friend Lisa Ellis, and Lisa is mixed race, and she is one of my dearest friends, and she is one of the coolest, finest people I've ever had in my inner circle, and I'm so grateful for her. And she was sharing some of her thoughts about the injustice of it all. And she said that her mother and father were a mixed race couple in the 60s. And she wasn't born yet when Martin Luther King was assassinated, but her parents were married. And her father said to her Irish mother, her African-American father said to her Irish mother before she was conceived that their biggest hope when the Martin Luther King riots occurred was that their children would not have to endure what they endured. And here we are 52 years later, and the same stuff is still going on. And we've got to put an end to this. We have to put an end to this. And I feel so strongly about it. Here's my Facebook and Instagram post for today. I've been watching the protest in Austin recently, and I have to say that I like seeing so many Caucasians in the crowd. It does my heart good. That makes me proud of the city I live in. A united front, not a divided front, is the only way to eradicate the hate and social injustice towards our Black communities once and for all. Isn't it refreshing to see that people of all races are standing together and protesting for change, positive change? For those angry about the looting and rioting, I don't want to discourage anger. I want it to be recognized. I want it to be surrendered. Awareness of how we feel internally is everything right now. We are all uneasy, unsettled, in a churn. The only way to resolve this is through a higher form of energy than the energy that created it. We have to recognize and let go of the lower forms of energy and expression, what we say, the anger that we project, and be careful that we recognize it so we don't repress it and we don't suppress it. I fully support a powerful united front of protesters peacefully pushing for systematic change. I stand with them, and I hope that all who see this or hear this will do the same. And, you know, it's just this weekend, I'm strangely emotional about it because I'm angry. And I have to tell you, I was telling Lisa, I said, you know, the thing is, for me, the way this whole like series of riots transpired, and I actually predicted that this would happen with Lisa when I first heard about the murder. I said, this is going to be bad. And I don't think we have any sense of how far this may go. And I think it may actually be worse than MLK riots. Because for me, this is not about fear, because I don't actually fear law enforcement officials. For Black people, it is about fear. I have a good friend who is an African-American, two of them that I spoke to yesterday, and both of them said that when they get pulled over by a policeman, because they're both in the South, that they shake with fear. So for me, this isn't about fear, but this is about anger. Because I'm angry that we still behave in this manner, and that we can't really all be like of one together. So I share that in the opening. Kathy, I didn't mean to hijack your introduction. I know that we had a process, and that was I was supposed to patiently wait for you to introduce me. And I'm sitting here looking at all these little quiet screens, and I'm saying to myself, no, I got to speak. So anyway, now you can introduce me.
Well, you don't need an introduction.
Is it even necessary?
I know, it may not. There may be some people, though, in this class that are not familiar with you. So first of all, thank you for joining us today. TNT's excited to have Mark give y'all about an hour packed full of wisdom and encouragement. And for those of you who don't know, Mark is the former CEO of Keller Williams. He was also named one of the 10 most powerful people in real estate back in 2014, and he has not stopped since. He really comes from contribution in all he does. He continues to use his influence to serve others and impact the lives of others. He's going to give his presentation today. At the end, there will be some time for some Q&A. You can put it in your chat, or you can hop on at the end and ask him whatever you like, but we'll give it up to Mark.
All right, well, thank you. And for those of you that don't know it, Kathy Morford is my sister's first child. And even though we're less than 10 years apart, she is like the little sister that I never had. So this is a lot of fun for me. So let me just kind of let's talk, because I'm gonna get a little personal. I'm gonna tell you some stories that I think are relevant, and hopefully they will help you. This is how I manage my own energy and how I work on myself. I think the most important work we do is the work we do on ourselves. And I think a lot of us get so busy, we get so tied up in the world of work that we forget that our most important work is self-work, not the work you do outside of yourself, the work that you do to make a living. Because business growth, and I learned this from Gary Keller, business growth is autobiographical. As you're growing personally, your business will grow. So my first statement would be very careful if you end up on a 10 most powerful list. You might want to do a little gut check and do some real important self-work at that point. Because I've got to tell you that I went through a period, I think a lot of people ask me what happened, and the truth is that I needed to have a little time for reflection. And I'll tell you, it was kind of interesting because for those of you that don't know this, and I think a lot of you do know it, my wife of 35 years passed away last May. And so I'm at just over one year of not having her with me. And that's been it's been an interesting process to go through. Churchill, I was listening to Ryan Holiday, and Stillness is the Key. If y'all haven't read Stillness is the Key, I highly recommend that book. It's a wonderful book. And I found myself, it was interesting, the timing, because if you follow me, and that Cindy passed away a year ago, I've got to tell you that 14 to 15 months ago, we were sent home to the house that I'm in right now for her to be in the care of hospice. And, a couple months later, she passed away. So on March the 14th, I had my precious daughter's 21st birthday celebration at my condo at the W. And we just said, we had a great party. I mean, we slid right in under the finish line, because on March the 15th, the mayor came out, and Governor Abbott came out and said, we're going to limit small groups, no more than 10 people. And then on March the 16th, it was stay at home, don't go anywhere, right? So on March the 15th, Mary Elizabeth and I drove to our river house, and I found myself right back where I was 1 year before, when Cindy was sent home to pass away. And I share this because it's really important. I think my leaving Keller Williams leadership was, in a way, my years in the wilderness. Now, Ryan Holiday talks about this with respect to Winston Churchill and his fall from power, so to speak, in the late 20s, just prior to the Great Depression. And then all of the reflective work and the self-work that he did during that period to become the leader that the world needed, so that he could actually, on every level, lead our world out of World War II and into peaceful times. Okay? So I share this because I feel like after Keller Williams, that was kind of my time in the wilderness. It was my experience in the wilderness, and it's where I got to rebuild and become who I am today. And yet I want to share with you that 1 year later, I get sent back to the same house that I was in the year before, watching my wife pass away. And I realized all of a sudden that I had spent the last year doing nothing but escaping. If I could distract myself from dealing with what I felt, if I could, I've got to tell you what a week was like for me. Okay? Monday night, I went to Bob's Steak and Chop. Tuesday night, I went to Red Ash. Wednesday night, I went to Uchi. Thursday night, I went to Matsell Rancho. If I was in town on Friday, I went to Polvo's. I had a little routine. I had people that wanted to go out to dinner with me every single night. I was having lots of fun, and I was doing everything I could to distract myself and prevent myself from having to express and deal with the grief that I was feeling. I spent a year running away from hurt. Now, why is this important? Because I find myself back at my home 1 year later, and this time I can't go anywhere. I can't go see anybody. And I had to deal with being still. Not intellectually, because I think we can get intellectually still with great ease. But I had to get spiritually still. And I had to process a lot of the grief that I had repressed and suppressed. Certainly I felt grief, but I don't think I processed exactly what it meant at the core of it until I had this opportunity. So I began to have gratitude for COVID-19 and the lessons that I was learning from it, because I don't think there are any coincidences in life. I feel so sad for the people that have been impacted by this. I especially feel sad for the people who died alone, who, there's just so much tragedy in all this. And yet I think there's also so much opportunity in all this. I had this little motto that I started using when Cindy got sick. It came from a dear friend of mine, really one of my best friends in the world, Rhonda Miller. And she and her husband, Jason, were like with Cindy and me for almost the entire last 2 months that she was alive. And Hillary, their daughter, their only child, came and she was here with us on the weekends a lot because she loves Cindy like a second mom. And she gave Rhonda, for Mother's Day, we were all together, just the weekend, literally Mother's Day was Sunday. Cindy passed away on Tuesday. So we were all together for Mother's Day at the Rover House. And Hillary gave Rhonda this little bracelet. And it was not an expensive bracelet. It came from Amazon. And in the bracelet, y'all got to excuse the profanity. It was kind of fun for me because I like it every now and then. But inside of it was keep fucking going. That's what was engraved on the inside of that. And so I said, KFG, we're going to KFG. And I've been talking about KFG. I have to say what the F stands for so that KFG for me has been like my battle cry, just to keep going. Well, what I realized is that when I didn't have any place to go, if you listen to my podcasts, like with Naomi Steifer or some of the other ones, this is before COVID, I've talked about this, and now I have no place to go. So what does it mean to KFG? Well, for me, I kind of changed it to keep growing. And I think that this is an opportunity for growth. So, let me just kind of talk to you for a minute about what I've learned about our feelings. And it's interesting, I always learn something intellectually. And then life gives me an opportunity to learn it spiritually. So here I am, this map of consciousness, we're gonna put it up on the screen. We're gonna do a screen share with you all. I want you to know that when I, 2014, what did I do that changed my life? I was given a book called Letting Go by David Hawkins. Now, I had read, in 1999, I had read the book Power versus Force. It was given to me by one of our agents in San Antonio. And in the book Letting Go, what Hawkins talks about, if you look on that chart, you can see a black line in the middle. Okay, so now pay attention to the level on the left side. Look at level. I'll go all the way to the left of the screen. And you can see that if this level represents your inner state of being, the highest expression or level that you can feel is enlightenment. And the lowest that you can feel is shame. You all see that, right? Okay, so you can see there's a black line down across the middle, horizontally across the middle of the chart. There we have it. Thanks, Nicole. And that black line represents the lower self on the lower half and the higher self on the higher half. Think of self with the little s, where everything below that line is being scribbled right now. And think of the higher self for everything above that line. So now, let me just let me give you a sense of what's been going on. So right now, let me just give you, let's use coronavirus. So we've got fear, right? You can see fear right down there in the green. It's it's like a Kelly green. Okay, so fear is the emotion of anxiety. I don't know if you all saw the cover of Time magazine at the cash register at HEB. If you happen to go to HEB or any store where magazines are, the cover of the quarterly Time magazine, their theme for the quarter is the age of anxiety. Okay, so fear, I'm going to read to you what Hawkins says about fear. Fear runs much of the world and spurs restless activity. Fear becomes basic motivation for people's lives. Your basic motivation is the fear that you feel. Can you imagine that? The world looks hazardous and threatening. Insecurity results in manipulation, jealousy, totalitarianism, and inhibition. Okay, so let's just talk about that fear and all the anxiety and inhibition that coronavirus has caused. If you aren't being that level of fear, you have a vibratory field, an attractor field, and that vibratory field is going to lead you to outcomes that are a match for that field of fear. So I do believe all of us have felt fear, we felt anxiety, and what I've learned is that you have to acknowledge that fear. You have to express that that's fear that's going on, that is the lower self, and that your intention is to nurture the power of the higher self, the power of courage, the power of neutrality. I'll talk about that in just a second. So then what I realized was that as I began to do work, I realized that the pride, if you go up to just below the black line, you have pride. I realized that a lot of us get stuck in pride. All of this becomes kind of like a way of just recognizing what's going on. Pride, if you look at pride, it actually is all about inflation. It's about demanding. It's about scorning other people. It's about being superior to other people. And I think pride is a lot of what has gotten us into the rioting that we feel right now, even more so than anger and fear. So at what level do you begin to move to the higher self? All I'm saying is that you recognize what's going on inside of you and you surrender it. One thing I do is I'll let it go and I pray for guidance. And that gives me a lot of peace. And so then I ask to go to courage. Actually, more powerful than courage is neutrality. And the definition of neutrality is not apathy. It's not apathy on any level whatsoever. Actually what neutrality is about letting go of your expectations, not labeling anything as right or wrong, good or bad, appropriate or inappropriate, just saying, okay, I need to recognize that. I need to follow my inner voice, my North Star. I actually had an experience that was one of the highlights of my year in 2017, and that is I got to spend a day with Michael Singer. For those of you that know Michael Singer wrote The Surrender Experiment, and I got to be with him one-on-one, and it was literally one of the greatest privileges of my life. And Michael Singer said to me, he said, Mark, what I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes and I want you to count to 10. And so I closed my eyes and I counted to 10. And he said, I have a question for you. Who counted to 10? And I said, well, I did. He said, well, who watched you count to 10? Like, didn't you see yourself counting to 10? Who was that? And I said, well, I think that was me. And he said, so who are you really? The one who watches what you do? Or are you the one doing it? See, when you're in the higher, like echelon, the higher half of the map of consciousness, what you're doing is just watching. You're not making it right or wrong. When I think of neutrality, I think of the story of the monk who won the Mercedes. I don't know if you all know this story, but it's one of my favorite. Linda's nodding her head because there's some stories that I've told over and over. I love the story. I use it on myself all the time, but this monk is in this Tibetan village or whatever, and he wins a Mercedes. You know, there's a big raffle, and he gets a Mercedes out of the raffle. And all the people in the village, they come to him and they say, oh my gosh, you're so lucky. You won a Mercedes. You're so fortunate. And the monk said, maybe, maybe not. The next day, the monk gets in a near fatal car accident in his brand new Mercedes. He's in the hospital. All the villagers, they come running to the hospital and they say to him, oh my gosh, this is so awful. Your new Mercedes has been crashed. You're in the hospital. You could have died. This is so awful. And the monk says, maybe, maybe not. So then that night, while the monk is in the hospital, his house burns to the ground. And it was an electrical fire. It started in his bedroom. He would have surely perished. All of the villagers, they came running to the hospital the next morning to tell the monk, oh my gosh, this is so great. You're so lucky you're in the hospital because you would have surely died had you been at home. This is so wonderful. The monk said, maybe, maybe not. See, that's neutrality. And I strive to go to that place when I'm feeling a lot of emotion. And I probably talked a little longer about this morning because of what I was feeling relative to the riots. And, you know, we're all kind of back, but we're not really back. We're not really back in the same way. And we don't know that the world ain't going to structurally change forever. And yet, what we do know is that if we keep working on ourselves, and if we keep growing and nurturing our own personal well-being and growth, we can get through anything. And if we will use the higher forms of consciousness, the higher forms of inner being, we will find that we will experience outcomes that are far greater. So, you know, one of my core beliefs is that the hardest person to lead is yourself. I know that for the last year, I may have done a lot of escaping and not fully leading myself at the highest level, but I think it may be what I needed. I think we have to understand why the hardest person to lead is ourselves. Now, John Maxwell says that we judge others by their actions. We judge ourselves by our intentions. So we let ourselves off the hook. And as we judge ourselves based on our intentions, and we have good intention, we fail to lead ourselves to take effective action. I actually have taken it a step farther. I judge myself based on what I do and what I don't do. When I don't do what I know I need to do, rather than making myself wrong for not doing it, I just say, okay, this is what I need to do right now. I'm going to let go of what I don't want to do. I'm just going to do what I know I should be doing right now so that I'm in line with my true inner voice. And that's always helped me. It's always been my North Star in life. And And I've got to tell you that one of the things that I've watched is like in leading myself, which laws are the most meaningful for me right now. And I want to talk to you all about this because I think there are 3 laws that stand out to me in a big way. The first law, and these came to me during the kind of the quarantine lockdown. The first law was, and is for me, the law of the inner circle. Okay? When coronavirus happened and the quarantine, lockdown sent me home, I began to really pay attention to the people that I was spending the most time with. And I did a little bit of pruning of my inner circle. I did some cleanup of my inner circle. Not that anybody was right or wrong, but I think we do become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. You can even take the 5 people that you spend the most time with, the 5 people that represent your inner circle, you can take their income and you can add all their incomes together, divide it by 5, and that's probably very close to what you earn. I began to look at my inner circle in terms of what was going to lead me to what I wanted to be and who I wanted to be. And that was an important opportunity. If you haven't really looked at your inner circle, I would recommend it on lots of levels. I would also recommend it for you all as it relates to your real estate practices. Who are the 5 clients that get the most of your attention? Who are the 5 people that have created the most opportunity for you in your business? How do you let them know that in a way where it's not about getting more business, but it's about honoring them at a high level? I also looked at the law of the picture. And the law of the picture for me is people do what they see. So I've actually stepped back in Keller Williams in the Inland Empire region. I still own the region. And my next Zoom call at 1 o'clock is a call with the owners of the Inland Empire, the operating principals. And I'll talk with the team leaders. Because one thing that I've learned is that if you show people what they need to do, they will do it. You have to give them a picture and you have to lead by example. And we have to demonstrate what people need to do during difficult times. These are difficult times. There's never been a more important time for you to be the leader by example for the people that you serve, particularly those of you who have teams. You have a team. Now is the time to lead with confidence and with certainty. And to show your people you know what to do. Same for your clients. Help them. Just be of service. Serve people. The third law is the law of victory. We have got to show the people that we serve that we're going to win. We're going to be okay. That if you have a team, your team members are on the perfect team. And that as a team, that you all are going to rise above all of this and go to the next level. With your clients, that they're going to be okay. That we know what to do and we can navigate this slope. The last law is the law of navigation. And that's one of the laws in the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership that I love the most. And that is, you got to be able to navigate. And no one can navigate effectively all by themselves. Back to the inner circle and why the inner circle is so incredibly important. So I told Kathy that I would take got to make sure that I have some more to talk about, but I also want to give time for question and answer. I can share with you kind of in closing a list, because I think, to thine own self be true is a good law to live by. That's something that I was raised with. My mother said that to me my whole life. To thine own self be true. And I'm going to share with you that as I was leading myself through this process, I actually wrote some. Hold on just a second. Go to look. Okay. I wrote that my intention is to manifest the highest good possible. That is my intention. Okay. And then I thought, where do I trip up personally in manifesting the highest good possible? Okay. One, I have trouble letting go of things. I hold on to attachments, and I have to work my butt off to recognize my preferences in order to even have an opportunity to be aware of what I'm doing, how I'm feeling, and what I want. Number two, I am not always clear and direct about what I want. Then I get disappointed when others don't do what I want. See, this is where, when I got still, and I'm going right back to my kind of time in the wilderness, when I got still, these are the things that I got still and recognized. Third, I worry way too much about other people and what they think of me. I have such a need to be good and such a need to please others that I often don't please myself in the process. Third, I don't always have the most unselfish agenda. Usually I take action on what I want. Y'all can laugh if you want to laugh. It won't bother me a bit because I'm laughing at myself. But we have to be self-aware. To thine own self be true, right?
Yes.
Huh?
I said Nicole has everybody muted.
Okay, well, anyway. Number 5. I can withdraw and withhold rather than accept and love. Think about that one for a minute. I can withdraw and withhold rather than accept and love. I think when I left Keller Williams, I went through a period of withdrawal and withholding. So being aware of this, you get to surrender it, let go of it. Sometimes I hesitate or don't take action when I absolutely know that I should. Next, I can hold on to resentments. Next, sometimes I feed stories that justify my actions rather than working from facts. I took one of the most important courses I've ever taken was Landmark Forum. I resisted it for the longest time. Craig Owen and I were supposed to go in like 1998, and I didn't go until 2018, the summer of 2018. We actually do hold on to our stories, and we make our stories more real than the facts of what happened. Next, I become overly attached to outcomes and overly attached to people. Next, I am stubborn and I will hold on too long even when I know I should let go. I resist authority and I rebel. Those of you who know me know that this is real. But I rebel in such an interesting way, and I have to be aware of that. I can project my mood onto other people. So I try to stay pretty cheerful. And last, I can overly escape things that are tough. And I can repress emotion rather than allowing it to reveal itself and teach me my lesson in it. So my COVID-19 pledge is to work on those things. I started by saying the most important work we do is the work we do on ourselves. And I'm giving you the law of the picture. I'm showing you that I'm doing work on me, and I'm convinced that the work that I'm doing on me will serve me well as I go through the next phase, whatever that may be. And I would encourage you in a gentle and loving way to do your own important self-work. So with that having been said, I'm gonna stop talking. I believe I have a rule, and it was Gerald Mann who said this the first time, and he said, you know, a preacher can't talk for more than 40 minutes. and I love that. I think I've let my 40 minutes expire. So now we'll move to, I miss Gerald Mann too, Aaron. We'll move to any kind of question and answer. If you guys have questions, you want to talk about anything, I'm here. And I love seeing you all and getting to hang out with the just old friends and making new friends. So thanks, Kathy. Thanks, TNT. I want to say one thing on TNT's behalf. You're looking for a great, and I was not asked to say anything, by the way. I just have a lot of gratitude for Michelle. I have tremendous gratitude for Kathy. I have gratitude for David Tandy. I have gratitude for Tracy, who worked with us at Lake Travis. I have gratitude I saw Denise a little while back. I've seen, and now my new friend, Nicole. So you guys, TNT is a great company, and I love that you all are doing this, Kathy, and just grateful to have the opportunity to connect with you all. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mark. We appreciate your wisdom and insight to get us to a mindful awareness of where we all are and where we want to be. So anyone feel free. I mean, this is not formal. We're very informal here. If you do have any questions, if there's anything that even Mark didn't talk about that you would just like to ask him about, you know, leadership or, you know, anything, just open the doors. And Nicole, I don't know, do you have to unmute everybody or can they just do that?
They can individually unmute themselves.
Okay. I see some things coming in on the chat.
Okay, Mark, I have a question for you. You were talking about that you strive for neutrality when we were looking at the graph. How do you keep neutrality from being apathy?
Because number one, it's just about recognizing and not making something right or wrong, good or bad. See, I'll give you an example. Apathy about the COVID-19 lockdown. Mm-hmm. Oh, I just don't care. I withdraw. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And, you know, I don't know. There's nothing I can do about this. Neutrality is saying, you know what? I'm not going to judge this as right or wrong. I'm not going to judge this. I'm not going to label this as good or bad. So it's like, I'm not going to label it. I'm going to allow it. And I'm going to learn the lesson in this for me. And I'm going to listen to my internal voice of what I know I should be doing while not avoiding what I don't want to do. And so it's neutrality is so different from apathy. It's just like the difference between, you know, up and down. Mm-hmm. neutrality, when you're, let me give you an example. When you listen to someone telling you a story, if you already have a judgment about whether or not that story is right, you're not going to really get a full understanding of the story. I think that we live our lives as though when something doesn't align with our preferences, we see it as bad.
Right.
Rather than just seeing it and saying, okay, now what is my truth? What do I know about me? How do I contribute? So it's the polar opposite of apathy. I care, and yet I'm not going to work from a judgment. I'm going to just allow it to come through me so that I understand it.
It's more of a lack of judgment of any
It
sort.
is. It's a lack of label also.
Okay.
Because the minute we label something, we inhibit our ability to get it. In that, there's some irony there. There's some deep irony there.
Yeah.
Let's moving on. Justine had a question of what was the course you took called?
Landmark Forum. It's brutal. It's 3 days of hell. It's 3 13-hour days, and yet at the end of it, you will get so much good from this class. And anybody who's made it through the full 3 days has said the same thing. I dreamed differently after I took this class because I quit focusing on my stories and I began to focus on facts. We are meaning-making machines. We have to bring meaning to everything. Sometimes the meaning, yeah, Christy.
Oh, I was just going to say, thank you for sharing about Ryan Holiday earlier in the year. That the book was presented to me as well. And he's got 2 others that I know you're aware of probably.
Ego is the enemy. Yeah.
Ego is the enemy in the universe. That one?
Yeah.
Yeah. The obstacle is the ego.
Yeah.
Great reads. And we read the Daily Stoic every day that he did also. But I was just going to say.
I love his journal too. His journal is great.
Oh, I have his journal too.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for Ryan Holiday, obviously.
Yeah.
No, the one thing that I find interesting, and I'm glad to hear from you, because I think a lot of us, never in my lifetime have I been told I can't go anywhere. And I think not all, well, a lot of us, most of the successful real estate agents are just like a hamster on a wheel, and we go, we throw life in, we do family, we're where we need to be, we take care of our clients, yet we're never forced to sit back and whatever life throws us, and my heart still goes out to you with Cindy.
Yeah.
Whatever life throws us, it really, there can be incredible silver linings and rainbows for each of us personally, because what this has done for me is it's made me stop and reflect. Truly, we may say we're blessed and we're grateful, but I say it and feel it differently today. I don't need all those jackets in my closet. I don't need all those shoes in my closet. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
What matters is being with my friends and family, and sometimes sneaking in them with mask on, That's what's important.
You realize what a gift that is, right?
Yeah.
That's at the front. I've got to tell you, one of the things for me, Christy, that happened is that I'm literally, it's like I was feeling like a lump in my throat, a weight on my chest. When I couldn't go anywhere, I couldn't see anyone. I'm addicted to stimulation to begin with.
No kidding.
I am addicted to stimulation. I like to be stimulated.
Duh.
So let me tell you, the minute I couldn't go, I thought, well, am I upset about that, or am I upset about something else? And then I realized, maybe that isn't what I was upset by. It was what I wasn't processing that I was bothered by.
Yep.
That's
It's,
good.
it's good stuff. No, I mean, it's good stuff. It's not, the virus is not a good thing. What's going on in America is very difficult and hard to watch. There are goodness and great things that we can derive, I guess, together from it. Kinder, more grateful,
Yeah.
I want to take a moment to kind of shift gears a little bit because we had another question from Courtney, and she had asked, what do you think our role is leading our clients through this time?
Well, I think your role, number one, is to make sure you connect with every client that you have had ever and just say, hey, I care about you. How are you? You've been on my mind. If there's anything I can do for you, I would like to just let you know that I'm here and that I care. And I'm thinking of the people that I value and how much I want to know that they're all okay right now. That's all you have to do is let people know you care. Like be a leader. And I think that the main thing is what we always have had to do as successful realtors, and that is put other people ahead of yourself. Put their interest ahead of your own, and everything will work out. Show up and serve them. Be there. Be present. Don't think about what's in it for you. And give, give, give. And everything will take care of itself. Now is the time when we work harder and we give more, because the demand for what we have to give is greater and it's bigger. People need you. They need a positive voice. They need a friend. They need connection. Just be there for the connection and let the rest happen.
Great, good stuff. One more question, but real quick, tell everybody, you have a podcast?
I've got a podcast channel that's actually coming out, and Erin will share that with you. I also have a book that's written that's coming out. This is way thicker than it should be, so it's in editing right now. And I have Mark Willis Leadership, which we held off on launching when Cindy got sick, and now we're doing a full-scale launch of that. And I am I'm going. I'm back in a way where I'm serving other people, which is what I love doing.
Right, and I only see one more question. It's from David. What was the process you went through to come up with your list?
Well, it wasn't any damn fun, I'm going to tell you that. But I just said, okay, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? What's going on? If my intention is to manifest the highest good possible. So remember, we judge other people by their actions. We judge ourselves how? Our intentions. So then I watched, because I read Jordan Peterson's book, the 12 Rules. What a great book that is. And Jordan Peterson said, if you really want to know yourself, watch what you do, not what you say, and not what you feel. Watch what you do. And I read that, it was like a bolt of lightning hit me, and I went, oh, well, let me just start watching what I do. So when I would do something, and I always pay attention to how something feels after I do it. So let's say that you lose your temper and you yell at someone. It doesn't feel good afterwards, right? We all know it. So if that happened to me, if I got a little bit uncentered, I would just say, okay, what's going on here? And what am I doing? And how's it making me feel? And every time I felt badly, I would write it down. and I created a list. At the top, it says intention, manifest the highest good possible. Actions that interfere, thoughts that interfere. So I would say, decide what is your mission statement. For me, my personal mission statement is manifest the highest good possible in every situation. Not what I want, but the highest good. Of course, I would say I like to have fun too. I like being happy. Now, my mission statement for years and years back, even when I was at the Southwest Market Center, Linda, it was to live abundantly, have fun, and make a positive difference in the lives of others. That I ran my life on that for years and years and years, and I think it's very authentic. Because, man, I tell you, I still live abundantly. I always said fun, and I always want to have positive impact. So that's still a part of what I do. But now, what is it that interferes with that? What is it that bogs me down and keeps me from being that? And it may take you weeks to get that list put together, but when you get that list put together, then you can just surrender those things. So let go of them. They got them. Now they're going to come back because you've had to hardwire them in. It's going to take a while to unwire that stuff. So that's kind of how I approached it.
Rich information, and like I said, packed full of wisdom and encouragement. So we really appreciate it and just love you. And unless there's any other questions, we're up on our time. We spared a minute. So thank you.
All right. Thank you all. This has been a blast for me. I love hanging out with you guys. I miss you all. Peter, we still need to get together. Call me. Bye.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you.